Hi, I'm Rebecca Balcarcel. Let's talk about A Good Man is Hard to Find, the short story by Flannery O'Connor. This is a disturbing short story because nobody's really a hero. There's no one to root for. Everybody's bad. We feel a little bit for the grandmother because we see the story mostly through her eyes, but actually we don't like her much either because she's a bit of a loudmouth, she's quite judgmental, and she's pretty superficial. She wants just her being a lady to prevent the misfit from killing her, and she thinks that somehow he'll spare her just because she's a lady, when she should be pleading for the lives of her other family members, including her son. So there's nobody to really root for. And that makes me think that Flannery O'Connor is presenting us with a bit of a puzzle, a moral puzzle. Who is right in this story? Is anyone right? If no one is right, then where is rightness? Is it right that they all die? Is the misfit right about the grandmother when he says somebody should have shot her every day of her life? He's obviously disgusted with her and tired of her mouthing off and just talking a lot. There's very little redemption in this story. Almost nobody changes or grows. Maybe the grandmother discovers something at the very end. When she's about to be killed, she says, "Oh, you could be my child." So that implies a little bit of deeper awareness about this murderer. But that is the tiny little bit of growth, if any. Some people say that the children and the mother and father come together as a family, that they actually bond more and join more in this moment of death than they ever have before, because we see that at the home they are disconnected, they're argumentative, fractious, they insult each other, and then when they're on the road they're grumpy. The one child is kicking the back seat, behind his father, the driver. Man, that is super annoying. The little girl is rude when they are at the roadside diner or eating place. She's tap dancing and someone tries to give her a compliment, but she says something rude back. So neither of the kids is really nice. There is a baby who we can figure is blameless. The parents, well, the dad is kind of surly. He doesn't say much. He's mostly barking disappointments and commands. The mother is not portrayed as especially effective or interesting. She's not especially feeling nor especially smart. They're just rather shallow people, and I don't think we're supposed to like any of them very much, including the grandmother, who, she says a few things that are interesting or entertaining, but she also lies. As much as she's on a high horse judging everybody else, she doesn't reveal the fact that she realizes, oh my gosh, this is not even where we're supposed to be. This is not the state I was thinking of. I got it wrong. She does sneak that cat into the car, and the cat is what causes the car accident. So, nobody is likable. Now, why is Flannery O'Connor showing us a family that is so unlikable, and then a rather complex sort of murderer character who is simply labeled the misfit? In fact, the misfit is the only one who's actually sort of thoughtful in his own weird way. It's sort of a scary mindset that he has. He says something like, the only pleasure there is in meanness, in being mean. He has thought about life and has come to the conclusion that there's no point in it, but nobody else has thought much about it at all. So, all right, so why are we showing these characters? Well, one reason might be because Flannery O'Connor tends to present the darkness of human nature and likes to point out that people can be on the wrong path even if they seem to be on the right path. So while at first we want to judge this murderer as being totally on the wrong path, we actually end up finding out that this grandmother, who considers herself so high and mighty, is on the wrong path too. And actually, they're all on the wrong path. So perhaps the whole story is a bit of a warning and a bit of a scolding to all of us who could be shallow and judgmental, as well as those who might be outright criminal, that really all of us are in the same boat, and that we can't judge too harshly because we're all flawed. So that might be one thing to take away from the story. Others point to the empathy that does finally show itself as the family is dying. The little boy does take his father's hand, and the mother says, "Yes, please, please, I want to join my family in death." So there's a little family unity there, there's a little family feeling, and even though it's pretty bleak, the nuclear family there does die together, and perhaps they appreciate each other more than they ever have. And that's a little lesson to be learned there. If any other message can be taken from the story, maybe it's that this misfit, this murdering man, he has his own internal logic, and we have to notice that he is not killing out of a thirst for blood exactly. He's actually trying to have happiness in his own twisted way. He has his own view of life, and he came to that view of life as a person in prison. He felt that he had been imprisoned unjustly, and that the police had trumped up some false charges. And maybe it raises the question about, do we truly have justice in our legal system? Do we sometimes make mistakes? Do our laws always get administered fairly? Do the punishments get administered fairly? And do some people go into prison better people than they come out? Lastly, we might think of this misfit as what might be called a sacrificial figure who is doomed to be the sinner so that everyone else can pretend that they're not sinning. He's a scapegoat of a sort. If we can put all the evil there where we can see it plainly, then we don't have to examine ourselves where evil might be a little harder to see, and we might be less likely to want to admit it. He becomes the dark person who must be sacrificed so that everyone else can feel okay. Well, these are some ideas that we can take from the story. Hopefully you'll join me for another video sometime. Be great to see you.